24. We are glad to welcome. Hey, get you situated there, and just into the. Okay, we're reaching 3.5 hours, and I can see that John has reached that point already. Dr. Michael Stoneham, welcome.
Yeah, sure. Glad to be
Representing as chair of the Humanities Division.
Sure am. Well, I'm glad to be here and glad to talk about the Humanities program at UPJ.
We kind of start each of these divisions the same way. What's going on in Humanities?
Well, there's a lot, as a matter of fact. Tonight is our Golganooza, and Golganooza is our annual theatrical production of a student-written, student-directed, and student-acted play. This is a two-night performance tonight and on the 1st, and the theater department has been working on that for the last couple of weeks, as well as preparing for the main spring show, which is going to be The Winter's Tale by Shakespeare, and a not oft-performed play, but an interesting one nonetheless.
Actually, I have a student who's performing in it in one of my classes, and I keep getting the reminder, you're coming, right? So
Yeah.
I have a feeling Shakespeare's in my future.
Is this at the Pascagoula Performing Arts Center? Is that where they're having it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's in the black box over at the...
Oh, it's just in the black box. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Humanities. What does Humanities encompass for those who may not be familiar with the division as a whole, but saying, hey, I want to donate to something, and I'm looking for somebody to pitch me
All right.
why I should give them my money.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about the Humanities. We have 10 major programs, and by a major program, what I mean is those are majors, distinct majors that we offer to students. They range from communication and English literature and writing in both the professional and creative stream to theater and digital humanities to several others. And there's a couple of hybrids in there, some having to do with philosophy and literature, some with foreign language and literature. And at UPJ, we teach both Spanish and French and welcome any students who have an interest in exploring the different cultures represented by those languages. We also actually feature some semester abroad trips. As a matter of fact, Dr. Barbara Petrosky, who teaches in the French department or the foreign language department with her husband, is sponsoring a trip to Paris this year. Pitt in Paris. That's a month-long program in which students earn 6 credits, live in Paris the entire time, and explore the city's cultural sites. I interrupted myself, though. I got excited a little bit there. And we do offer it at 7 minors. And the minors come both from programs that offer majors like writing and literature and communication, but they also come from programs that don't have majors like music and art history. And I'm trying to keep them at the tip of my tongue, but that escapes me now and again.
Go ahead, keep working. I can pull them up for you. Potentially.
There we go.
This is the looking things up part of the minors: art history, philosophy, communications, writing, music, French or Spanish, and English literature.
Right, and I'm surprised that I forgot philosophy there momentarily, because that underpins all of our majors.
Yes, and I remember my first philosophy class was a very large class. It was probably part of distribution or whatever they called, so everybody had to take it. But it's interesting is I always looked at the university as you walk into a large room with a lot of doors on it. And when you leave it, you just stepped into those doors, but you unlocked them. There's inside that door is a whole lot of other doors too, and you can delve deeper and deeper. But that's what our liberal arts university is supposed to do, is give you a little touch about everything to make you a more enlightened human being. So if there's anybody's out there, and I've been doing this with everybody, whatever their division is, and you're in the humanities division, and if you're in a band, because I was in music, so $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, or just a direct check to the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. Even the smallest amount gets a check mark in Oakland that helps us out with our finances from the main campus too. So even if you want to try to check out for $50, it helps us out tremendously because we're trying to get it to 188 people. I was book voice with Dr. Furlong many years ago, and how to succeed in business with that, because I was dating a girl at the time there, and she was in theater, and that's how I got to be book voice. That's all I, about my theatrics came. But
Well, John, I'm glad you brought up the music program and our general education contributions. The Humanities probably offers about 250 classes in our general education program, and those range in classes in all of the disciplines that I've previously mentioned. And we do offer students with an interest in music the opportunity to sing in choir, to perform in jazz ensemble, or to perform in jazz band, right? This is complemented, of course, by the students who take theater classes or want to major in theater, or those that want to major in engineering and have an interest in theater. So our students that both prepare our sets, that direct our plays, that act in our plays, come from all different disciplines, all right? And they're members of Pitt's theater group, formerly called Pitt Players, and they're theater majors as well. So it gives students a great opportunity to sort of capitalize on the broad education they're able to get, that liberal arts background that you talked about, and an opportunity to pursue their own particular interest in acting, because I always tell students we are eclectic human beings. We have many, many interests, and we ought not study only the classes in our major, but to branch out and pursue our many interests.
absolutely.
I never felt the need to act. I'm pretty decent at being a character throughout my life as it exists. But I always did scenes and tech work and stuff, electric work, lighting and stuff in theater, because it was, hey, that's a cool way to bring my skill set into something that you wouldn't typically ever think. But that was a humanities basis of something that built skills and friendships and relationships that exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Many of our students do work with some of the professional experts that are engaged by the theater to learn about lighting, about sound, about stagecraft, about production. And I think they learn a lot in the process, whether they're going to be going on to a profession in the theater or whether they're going to go on to an engineering job or a job in a bank or a job writing or any kind of profession. We certainly see in the community many opportunities to pursue those interests that students start or continue while at UPJ.
And every year I get to see that at the Pascagoula Performing Arts Center when I do the Johnstown Ballet's Nutcracker. You see the people behind the scenes making all this happen because there's a science behind stagecraftery or whatever term you want to use. So everything fits into something else. And it's fascinating, and particularly the arts, because it's the softer science, but it's the human part of us that really is important out there.
Sure, and I'll tell you about one of our what I call our margin of excellence programs that we're trying to develop, but that really depends on the generosity of donors, and that's a program that's sponsored by our Sigma Tau Delta, or English Honor Society. And what we're trying to do in the fall is take students to Concord, Massachusetts, and to Boston to see the sort of, to visit the sort of hub of 19th century intellect in Concord, and visit Thoreau's home, Emerson's home, Alcott's home, Hawthorne's home, and of course the old manse, which is right at the edge of these marvelous historical sites that National Park manages, in Concord, where the first shot of the Revolutionary War occurred. Yeah. So that depends on generosity of donors doing stuff like that, or capitalizing on classroom experience and bringing students outside of the classroom to places like, I actually took students a couple of years ago down to our own JWF in Johnstown, because I wanted students to really think about how humans integrated with machines to produce these, complex systems, right? And how we had this symbiotic and yet tense relationship sometimes with the machines that we see in digital humanities that are evolving, particularly regarding AI. we have many professors that are interested in doing stuff like that, but that depends on external funds. We don't have the annual sort of internal budget to allow professors to take students out on those kinds of educational trips, but we certainly like to.
And that's where, again, going to that upj.pitt.edu/PDOG, PDOG will get you to the link. You can click and go directly to the donation page for UPJ, so you can direct that fund, your funds that you say, I want to give this $5, this $8, this $12, the $20, $100, whatever it is, and say, yes, I want it to go to Humanities. I want to help those students get to that trip and do those sorts of things. It is certainly something that we see that touches on so many components, and the JWF story is just a great example of that there is such a human component of so many things that we don't necessarily always think about, but is always present.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see some of that human component, particularly down at the PPAC when we're able to put on a musical performance, when we're able to put on a theatrical performance, and we see all kinds of members of the community attend. What I really have been encouraging John Teacher and Jeff Webb and some of our other performative professors of the performative arts, I would really like to get our high school students into those productions. I think they'll see what kind of excellent facilities we have. I think they'll see what kind of opportunities there are to explore at UPJ, and they'll see what kind of growth as both a student and as a member of the community they can achieve by engaging in these kinds of events, which build confidence and exercise their poise and exercise their memory and bring them in front of a public, interacting with that public in a sort of dynamic way, something they'll do for the rest of their life in whatever profession they enter.
And you talk about acting, because you were talking about the Humanities and the Performing Arts Center, and every time I think about it, I've been to New York, I've been to Pittsburgh, but I watch TV all the time. So it's not just the stars. There's tens of thousands of people that make their careers in the theater, so to speak, either behind the camera or in front of that camera. So there's opportunity out there. And I just thought of this a little bit before I go and ask everybody for their $5 or the $10 or their direct check, is that as we're sitting here today on the 27th of February in 2024, maybe not the technology, but there were people doing the very same thing while you were going to school, asking people to help out, to help defray the cost of your education. So if you can see your way clear and you're so inclined, a little help to the University of Pittsburgh at Johnson. As I said before, every little amount helps, and your name on that scribe gets a little black mark in the good way in Oakland that helps the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. So if you can cut a check, if you can make a monthly stipend, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, John, I'm glad you brought that up. Many of our students depend on the generosity of alumni, community members, certainly their parents and grandparents, but we can really offset some of the cost for attendance at the university by encouraging donations to scholarship funds, to awards. It makes a huge difference in a student's life if a student is able to earn a scholarship to defray some of the expense of tuition or room and board or books. I mean, I have students every day who are looking at me and asking, do I really have to buy the book for your class? And I say, of course you have to buy the book. I mean, this is essential in your preparation. But I want to enable them further, if possible, by encourage everyone to donate to this kind of worthy cause. We're investing in our own future, and we're certainly investing in our students' futures.
Very good. I think it's important to see that is so needed. And John, your point about that being that, and it's a great point, and I wish we could have come up with it 3 hours ago. The idea of there were people do it. Yeah, they weren't live streaming on the internet this way, but they were at tables. They were on the radio at WUPJ Radio. They were knocking on doors, and that got folks like us through here. And now it's our time to give back.
Before I lose my thought, And I know a lot of people say, well, I made my way through the university system back when. Well, I always called it education inflation, and the cost of education has way outpaced inflation over the past 40 years. Doc, you just brought up a book. I would venture to say one of the substantial books that you buy in this bookstore costs as much today as an entire term cost me back in 1974. So keep that in perspective. I know you make a few dollars more an hour than you did back then, but the cost of education is really out there. Anything we can help, particularly the middle class and the people that really need it the most, the lower middle class, the poor, and the middle class, anything we can do to defray that cost. And I like the term earned. And I don't think we want to have a free lunch for anybody, but you sit there and you make a commitment out there, you X amount of 3.0, 2.5, 4.0, sliding scale, but somewhere. But anything you can do, help to defray the cost, because what we're trying to do is get another generation of intelligent, committed people into our various divisions that we have up here at the university. But we really want to push the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown because of the experience that you had. And I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't have a good experience in my university. And
I think it's across the board for all of us.
yeah.
Sure.
Michael Stoneham, thank you for coming and spending 15 minutes with us.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Thanks to everybody for listening.
Again, what's the date on the play?
Pardon me?
What's the date on Shakespeare?
Shakespeare.
So we can, while we have people, we can plug it.
We are performing Shakespeare, The Winter's Tale, from the 4th to the 6th of April.
Very good.
All right. Right at the P-PAC in the Black Box.
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see
We'll
you
have
all.
to get golfing this summer.